Hi, welcome to Play Cafe. Today we'll be talking about a question that I hear a lot from parents. What do I do about picky eating? Now there's a lot of ideas and theories out there about how to react to a child's picky eating behaviors, and I'm going to talk about just a few of those today. And at the end, I'll show you a fun way that you can introduce a child to a new food. Before we get into any specific strategies about what to do, I want to talk about the importance of our mindset, or the way our mind views picky eating. I often hear from frustrated parents statements like, "How do I get my child to eat that food?" Or, "I can't get my child to eat anything." And man, that is frustrating. And yet, changing the mentality behind those statements is actually the key to solving that frustration. We shouldn't be trying to get our children to eat anything. That's putting the pressure and the responsibility in the wrong place. Our job as parents is simply to decide what, when, and where children eat. What will we offer them? Where will they eat? And at what times? Which is why that meal snack schedule we talked about in a previous video was so important. Children's job is to decide how much and whether they eat. And please note that this principle may not apply if a child has significant special needs that impacts their feeding routines. When we really follow that mentality, it changes that mindset from how can I get my child to eat something to how can I best set up my child for success at mealtime? What foods can I offer them? What kind of schedule routine can I set up to help them be more adventurous and a little less picky? Now, most children do naturally become picky around their toddler and preschool years. In fact, it's so common, it would be more unusual for a parent to say that their child is not picky. And some children will be pickier than others, just like you have some children who are more anxious in a new situation than other children are. The bottom line is, as parents, we know picky eating is probably coming, and there's some parts of that we can't control. But what we can control is how we react to picky eating. Parents can have one of two main reactions to picky eating. You can pressure, bribe, or coax your child into eating something, which often leads to stress for both the parent and the child, but might see some short-term success, meaning your child might take a taste of something for just that moment. Or you can choose to be cool, which means you focus on what and how you offer the food. This is usually less stressful and more effective in the long run. Just think about it like this. There are not many adults out there who say that they love a particular food because their parents made them eat it as a child. Usually it's the opposite. So what are some good ways to react to picky eating? First, make sure to offer a variety of food, including a variety of different colors, textures, temperatures, things that are homemade, and even things that aren't homemade. Children can only eat what they're offered, so if they're offered the same or similar foods each day, their picky eating will only get worse. And next, make sure you set up and follow a meal or snack schedule with only water between eating times. And what are some things that you should avoid doing in reaction to picky eating? First, try not to show too much attention to the picky eating behavior or even making too big a deal or showing too much attention to trying a new food. And avoid saying anything that might pressure a child into eating. Now, pressuring words can be a little hard to detect, so I'll explain a little bit more. When you are talking to your child about food, always remember to be cool. Let's look at a few examples. In the first one, imagine that a child tries broccoli for the first time. You might say, "See, I knew you would like it." Now, very picky eaters will actually see this as pressure or even shameful. Instead, it would be better to say something like this: "Broccoli is fun. I think it looks kind of like a tree. It's cool that you tried some today." Now, what if a child has tried broccoli a few times? You might say, "Wow, so now you like broccoli." And again, a lot of children can actually see this as pressure because now they think that just because they tried something, they must like it and they have to eat it again. Instead, you can say, "I'm going to try mine too. Did you put cheese on yours, or did you like it best plain?" Now, you should notice that a lot of these cool statements about the food are very neutral, and often they make comments about the characteristics of the food, like how it looks like a tree, or it tastes like this with cheese, or like this when it's plain, or it's squeaky on the teeth. Now, this is a good strategy because you're still giving your child attention for trying the food, but you're not drawing attention to the actual behavior of them tasting it or not tasting it. So a fun way that you can introduce a food to a child is to use something I call the mystery bucket. Now this mystery bucket is just an old gallon ice cream tub that's been cleaned out, obviously, and has been decorated with just some duct tape. This is just plain old duct tape that's got a little design on it that's been wrapped around the lid and the tub of the ice cream. On the lid, I cut a hole around here, and then got a little foamy felt that's available at most any store. And then you cut a little hole in the inside so that a little hand could fit through. And the idea behind the mystery bucket is you want to encourage your child to touch a food and try to guess what it is without looking at it, just using their sense of touch. So you could choose any food you want, but probably something that's not going to make a mess. So it could be like a banana or an orange or a kiwi. It could be a new food to them, or maybe not a new food to them, and that's okay because you're just trying to teach them to use their sense of touch to guess. So we'll use a kiwi in this example. You just put it in the mystery bucket, preferably without your child seeing. Put the top on, and then reach inside and try to guess what it is by just feeling it. But before you do that, talk about how it feels. So I would say this feels fuzzy. It's a little hard, but also a little squishy, and it feels kind of like a ball, round like a ball. And then when you've done enough of that, you would show your child what the food is, and there you go. From here, you can choose to taste it, or you can just explore it more. It's kind of up to you. Now, if you're thinking, I am not crafty, I cannot make one of those. I totally get it. I'm not crafty either. This took me way too long to make. For somebody who's craftier, it probably would have taken just a couple minutes. You could just use a brown paper bag. That's all good. The idea is just to get children feeling food and exploring it and getting more familiar with it, because that will help any picky eater. One last thing. Another thing that you can do to help introduce children to different kinds of foods is to have some pretend healthy play food at home, kind of like this set here. Now we have a few of these available to give it away to families, so if you're interested in getting one of these, please let your teacher or home visitor know as soon as possible, and we'll enter you in a drawing to win. Thanks again for watching this video, and we'll see you at the next Play Cafe.